Igor Spasojevic is the creator and host of RIMM Podcast, a talk show that interviews local public officials and public leaders. He's joining me today to discuss ways we can inform ourselves before heading to the polls. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your podcast.
My podcast, how do I start with podcast? I want to tell a story. Why do I start it? I have a really sick sister who actually was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and we went to similar symptoms down way in the road. The later one on the road, it was an NMO, neuromyelopathy, which basically affect the myelin nerve. You can become totally paralyzed. So from 2015 to 2021, it was a hustle. It was a struggling. It was an entire hard difficulty on the entire family, because you just don't know where to do. Even being a pharmaceutical rep, knowing a lot of doctors, you just like, if you don't know what's going on until you get the family member sick. Once you get the family member sick and you're fighting, and she got autoimmune disease, immunocompromised, you name it. She was like 99.99% not survival, like that, 1% surviving. And what I really came up with the RIMM podcast is the point of the getting involved communities. Another point, having a doctors coming and sharing their own knowledge. Because once we have the fear, then it's like we don't know what to do. When we have a fear, we have a disease. When you have a disease, you just want one thing, gets better. But when you are healthy, you like to have unlimited things. So the whole point was challenging, knowing the doctors, where to go. She was laying in Jackson Memorial Hospital for 3 months, and it was suffocating. It was insane, and then they kick her out. And I started to see how much the public is totally unaware, and there is no awareness. So I started bringing the doctors, the lawyers, and others to create a good content, especially during the politics and at that time mayors, because a lot of times people don't know what the mayor job is. So I started doing that and doing kind of pro bono for community and just spreading the information.
And what topics does your podcast cover?
My podcast specifically concentrates on the lawyers, community leaders, spiritual leaders. We also focus on congressional districts. We Congress. Down way on the road, presidents, governors, even though I know it's really hard to get to them, you got to go through different steps to get to them. But just bringing somebody who is willing to care and share within the community that good content, sharing the good, knowledgeable expertise in that field, they're willing to share. There's a lot of people very well knowledgeable, they're not really good in front of the camera. So they're getting scary and they want to be hidden in their own caves. So I'm looking for the people who are with perspective, with an intelligence, who is willing to share, because one piece of information can change the family.
Really could. How does your organization work or serve residents of Central Florida?
In Central Florida, it was fascinating when I started interviewing, and by the way, I was reaching thousands and thousands of invitations to get the point where I am. I started finding a huge thing, disconnections between the government and their own residents, especially on the business side. Orange County, Seminole County, Osceola. I started reaching out to them and asking them questions, because first of all, before I went to the RIMM podcast, I didn't know what is the district. I didn't know what is the job of commissioner. I didn't know what is, somebody called a commission, somebody called councilman, somebody called seat 1, seat 2. It depends on the cities. So then I started seeing and investigating and researching how does these particular commissioners and the mayors affect our city, building the infrastructure, you name it. So I started bringing an awareness. Whenever I interview the mayor, my first question, what is your job? Because a lot of times it's within a stroke of the pen, or sometimes we need to have the majority of the votes to improve. So just bringing awareness to community. That's how I serve community in the Orange County, Seminole, Osceola.
What can you share with our viewers about what they need to know about your work?
What they need to know about my work is basically, the first one is to follow us. Our work, I try to expose it on the digital media as much as I can, because I used to work in the newspapers, and I know how the content is really hard to get. You got to print the newspaper, you got to put in a magazine, they got to drop in the mailbox. Mailbox takes a year. Some people never get it. I want to bring the instantaneous, whatever decisions. And then there's a different trends. We have a fads and trends. Sometimes the events are great, but my educational platform is for the long run, because it's more kind of organic way and sharing good information, just like what you do with stuff. People don't jump on the board right away, but during the period of the time, we have a lot of Seminole County college students on Instagram reaching out to us and saying you're doing a great job, because if you bring one psychiatrist, ask him all of the questions, pretty much you can do your paper. So just bringing an awareness to community is the most important thing than anything else.
So students have used your shows to do their research papers?
Yes, they do. They do, because I bring all of these psychiatrists,
Yeah.
ophthalmologists. I bring somebody who spends years, who have the 40 years of education. So now, if you can squeeze that in 15, 20 minutes, if you are going to the college and you're doing a research paper, the descriptive paper, it depends on notions, whatever you're writing, but you can pretty much in 15 minutes giving an ideas. Because when you're writing the paper, what is the hardest part to do? Putting the research and brainstorming. And then you got to do inductive, deductive, and reasoning, and then you're like, wow. And then you don't know what the professor is going to want it. But it's a good kind of empirical research and good citation. They can take some kind of information, they can cite it down way in the road. So.
Does your podcast prepare viewers for local elections?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. That was a whole intention to creating the podcast. We got to know who they are. I believe the collective powerful action is important. We got to know possibility, we got to know predictions, and powerful way to engaging with the politicians. Because you cannot just go to the booth and then start to deciding either he's a great candidate or not. I believe every candidate is a good candidate because there has a reason for run, because nobody will run without reason, even yourself. Even what I'm doing, everything has to be a reason. Could be a family reason, could be serving a community reason, has to be a reason. So you gotta know in advance and get there, do some research, and then we bringing the research and the data. We don't pundit, we don't attack the politicians. We actually give them a platform to share their views. We all have a different opinions, which is fine. Just the collaboration. I'm always asking them the questions: when you get elected, are you willing to work with your constituents? Because end of the day, if it's 7 of you and you try to push something across the board and you have only 2 votes, you can be for 20, 30 years. I believe in collaboration, trust, and working together as a community. Everybody brings the particular points and good points to the table. The question is about discussion.
What other ways can individuals become better informed voters?
That's a good question. How the individuals has to become the better informed? I look at 2 things in the personality, not just in politics, in life as usual. You got the value of the gods and your personality. So when you have the personality, it changes over the years, especially in politics. It changes. In the long run, it's not good to do it. But the value of the gods, it fits within the humankind. We all believe in the particular values, norms, and stuff. So you got it when you go to the votes. It's not the point I want to persuade anybody or somebody making decisions on the situation and the response that I'm giving to you, but just do a due diligence. You go there. And a lot of times the reason we vote for particular people or politicians or candidates is because of their personality. And a lot of times we have that particular problem that we face during the campaigning. They are raising awareness, and then it's like, wow, he reflects to my values. So when he reflects in my values, then I will vote for them. I would say go dig research, go in a depth, follow them, go to them. Because I believe every campaigning is at least 1.5 years. Go there, get involved in community, know them, what their goals. And another thing, follow the money too. Everything is about the money. You got to know where the money is coming from, the particular corporation, what is the interest of them. That's what I'm doing. But research them. If you want to support them. But research them, and that's the best way to do it.
Definitely follow the money.
Yeah, follow the money. Because everything is about the money. Like I said, you have no money, you suffer. And there was one great, when I asked a psychiatrist, he was a forensic psychiatrist, I asked him a really great question, because we all get mental schizophrenia, we all get depression, certain things. And I asked them, you as a psychiatrist, being the forensic psychiatrist for 21 years, serving Central Florida, do you guys ever get mad, sad? What do you do at that particular point? He said, of course we do. But a lot of general public doesn't know that. What is the one thing? Depression and anxiety, it's knock you out. That your brain blocks your brain to thinking and improve. Asking these doctors who is seeing, probably psychiatrists see more people in mental illness and psychological, physiological, different things. They see more incapable patients or incomparable patients with the general public than anybody else. So going through this with Alzheimer's disease, dementia disease, mental illnesses, it's a hard, not just hard on the family, but it's a hard on the psychiatrist too, going on the daily basis. So yes, everybody gets afraid. So the question, how you carry that fear over? How do you fight with the fear?
How can individuals see beyond party lines to make choices that better reflect their values?
The values. First of all, we gotta know when I prepared anybody for my candidate, it's a thorough research as well as you are. You gotta thoroughly research. A lot of times it's like the preparation. So you gotta definitely look it up if your values are incomparable with their values. So if you have the values that doesn't reflect to the politician value, and we all know certain politician has certain values, but like I said, the main thing is personality. Their personality change over the years because of their surroundings. There's internal, external factors that actually affects who we are. Because our brain develops an experience. I always say one thing. You can do everything, but one thing you cannot buy is an experience. You gotta go through. So even every politicians and even voter, when we first time casting the votes, knowing particular politician who's been there for years, it's really, we know the paths. But brand news around the corner who just, coming out, we don't know so much about them, never get involved in community, some of them got involved. So best way to get involved with them, research with them, don't depends on the friends, oh, I believe, because what is the believe and hope? Nothing, you gotta make decisions. So that's the best way to do it, just make sure the values of the particular candidates, and then evaluate each and every candidate, just the way you evaluate your family, just the way you evaluate your job, evaluate the end of the 2 years term, look it up all of his back work, and say, listen, okay, he has done something for community or not, or he's just talker or not, or action taker.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with our viewers?
Yes, one of the most important thing about United States, go there and vote. That's the only way. If anybody wants to hear your voice, you gotta go there and vote. You gotta cast your vote. Nothing is gonna change unless you go to the booth and cast the vote for that particular candidate you're running. If you don't vote, you can talk all day long. Nothing will get it done. Like you said, even putting the particular initiatives on the ballots, you gotta work hard. You gotta convince the entire board. You gotta convince the different set minds and different individuals that this is a good idea for moving forward. Whatever we do today will affect us down way in the road.
How can those learn more or stay in touch with you?
How they can stay? They can stay with, I'm a big on the digital media. I get involved in a lot of community, but when you run the shows, there's a lot of preparations. And then when you have a lot of guests, then you have to at least try to go at least once or twice when you can support them, whatever they do. They can stage to the digital media, RIMM podcasting. We are now launching the TikTok. We are looking into the audio too. I love the video because the videos are more, it's like a picture or video keeps 1,000 words. So they can take it to the digital. We have a lot of flyers. We get involved a lot in community. Now we're gonna start to interviewing at different rituals. We're gonna start to bring different sports figures, and we're gonna try to combine having a different panels. So we try to do on a weekly basis. So this is the oldest service for community: Orange County, Seminole County, and Osceola County. So we'll have all of the information at the end of the show, so they can follow us.
Well, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Emily, I just want to say one thing. What you do for Orange County is a new, fresh blood and perspective moving forward. What you're doing as a community is bringing the younger generations, and you're inspiring a lot of other young politicians and the females and the males to run for an office, and encouraging them to do a lot of things. When they cannot come to your office, you're actually going on the field. And I understand when you go on the field, you got to bring all of the equipment and stuff. What you're really doing is an impressive, and keep doing what you're doing. I wish you the best luck. I'm gonna stay in touch with you. I'm gonna bring you again to my show, and God bless you for everything what you're doing. We wish you a lot of good luck in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
If you're enjoying this show, please subscribe to our channel and follow our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter accounts.